This is the beard. I don't care who comes after me. Beast infection. Jersey ghouls, Jersey devils, whatever decrepit cesspool in Hackensack or Camden you've pulled your broken, decrepit bodies from. Nothing can withstand the beard, not even Paul London, hero of the prophecy. Here's a prophecy for you. You will not survive this beard.
I fear no man. I fear no beard. Mostly because I was one for several gay men in college. And as for you, Jersey devil, oh, I'm gonna send you back to the Pine Barrens. When I'm done with you, you're gonna be nothing but broken spine barons. In London, the last time you were invaded was in 1066. But Mama's coming home to the British Isles. You're no longer gonna be Great Britain. You're gonna be something like Britain. That's right. And I'm gonna spell the River Thames the way I want to. T-I-M. None of this hidden H bull. I hope you kept your receipts. 'Cause you're gonna wanna return your monostat. You're gonna wanna return your Lotrimin. 10 acting won't be tough acting. Because the temper and fury of the beast infection will infuse in your soul.
Well, we are back with another episode of What Won This Week, and boy, are the promos and the rivalries heating up. Unfortunately, I heard word that the beard ran in fear after seeing the Beast Infection promo. Katie, what do you say to that?
I say, I get it, man. Beast Infection's pretty intimidating with all of those great graphics.
Listen, the Beast Infection had great graphics, and the voice I used when it was after my bedtime trying to record something.
Fair enough.
But it's not just the two of us. We are joined once again by Marissa of the Jersey Ghouls.
Oh my God, y'all have awoken the devil. Like,
Oh.
I tell you what,
I'm so excited.
I haven't been this excited about wrestling since Randy Savage did Slim Jim commercials. I'm really, like, I'm so pumped, you guys. I cannot wait. Don't worry, the Jersey Devil will be answering soon. And I was trying to think of something clever, like in the back room. I was like, get some antibiotics for that infection, but like it doesn't work. But I'll get there. Something.
You know what? You do you. I will admit that there was a writer that helped me out with that. That might be my husband.
The highest one. No, it's fine. Right. You know what? The devil don't need it.
Devil don't need a writer.
We did get a message from the beard just now, letting us know that unfortunately he's not going to be here. He wants us to have a great show. But he said, you tell that Beast Infection that the only thing the beard fears is shampoo and Draculas. So
two very valid things to fear, yeah.
You know what? Let's do something that we probably should have been doing from the first episode of What Won This Week. But real quick, before we do our wins for this week, I want to hear what the Jersey Ghouls have going on this month on the podcast. I want to hear what Napping Through Happy Hour has going on this month on the podcast. Marissa, you go first because there's like a whole ass theme that you have this month.
That's true. It is March, which means the Ghouls are doing March Madness. And this month our theme is Evilish Child of Horror. And I gotta tell you, the winner is epic, and we're releasing an episode every week to celebrate our favorite month of the year. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. So definitely come over to Jersey Ghouls on any of your favorite podcast apps and check us out. And I have to say, I've been standing a little bit for Napping During Happy Hour because I've been listening, and I'm like, I got to get in on that action.
Come on,
you guys! It's an awesome show, though. If you're not listening, definitely do that.
Really appreciate that.
Yeah, I was a little excited. I was like, oh man, I get to hang with them now.
Oh my God, I love that. That's so come on our show any old time.
I'd be so excited.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, for Napping Through Happy Hour, we have the great Curtis, who you may have seen with Marissa, Matt, and myself earlier this
Yes.
week on the D&D campaign that we did on Tuesday. He's promoting 12-Sided Die. Go to 12sideddie.com. We're going to have that episode out on Monday, so I'm very excited about that. He was hysterical. He's a former stand-up. He's also a friend of mine through like the acting ring, and that dude hustles. He is phenomenal. So, I mean, all people who can, please go listen to that on Monday morning. We have a couple of great episodes already up there, but Curtis will be great. And then in the future, we actually have some other Geekscapists going to be joining on a new show, apparently, which, Matt, I feel like you're introducing new shows and things like that every week on the channel. So, I mean, not just your own. I mean, other people. But do you want to talk a little bit about some of the neurodivergent stuff?
Yeah, so Nerding Out on Neurodivergency is a show that the producer of it, when he was in college, I booked his band all the time, and
Wow.
we stayed really good friends. This kid, Jake Noonan, who's still in his band is still out there putting out amazing records. Check out Danger Club. They are, if you're into like that post-hardcore, like Thursday boys night out type sound where it's real raucous, a little bit screamy, but more like prog rocky guitar type stuff. He's the drummer for that band. They're awesome. Their debut album is like one of my favorite records ever. But he has been doing stuff in the world of studying neurodiversity, and he befriended one of his coworkers, Dr. Matt, and they came up with this idea for this podcast where they would sit down and talk to people who are both like experts in that field, as well as like maybe people who were recently diagnosed in adulthood and like kind of going through that stuff. They actually have some really cool panels that were submit for Comic-Con, and hopefully I'm hoping they get selected. The one that I
That's
really
awesome.
loved of the two pitches they sent me was there's a word for that, explaining neurodiversity through your fandom and favorite TV show characters. And it's like
I love
the whole
that.
concept is going to be like focusing on TV show characters that are very clearly somewhere on the spectrum and like using them as ways to help you understand the multiple levels and tiers of this like giant spectrum that most of us find ourselves on some part
Some level,
of it.
yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure.
that show's great. In Defense of Fandom as well. Sadie
Yes.
from In Defense of Fandom, the new season starting up. Really excited for this new season. Because that podcast started as just like the first season was like, hey, we're fans of the show Supernatural and we just want to cover the final season of Supernatural. And then Katie, you and I got connected in the second season when it was like everyone hated the Supernatural finale, and she did like a 10-part series on like what goes into a good finale and like talking to pop culture
Ooh.
people about like what are the finales that work and what are the ones that don't and what are the reasons why they do and don't. But now diving into this topic of the parasocial relationship that we have with our favorite actors through social media, I'm like, that's going to be a fascinating deep dive, and Sadie's like the perfect person.
Sadie's
to do
amazing.
something like
Sadie,
that.
Sadie is someone that I met through a good friend of mine, Jess Kale, Dr. Jess Kale, and I think she's been on a few podcasts. We need to get her on Napping Through Happy Hour, but Jess Kale is an amazing woman who is very nerdy and very smart, and teaches at the professorial level, and she also used to do science consulting for Marvel.
Oh wow. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. She's a dope woman. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a heck
So-
of a flex. Hell yeah.
Love
no,
all
it
that.
really is. It really is. And like, so that whole crew is just like really smart,
really
really
cool.
amazing women. So Sadie's such a great add to the whole network. So I'm very happy that Sadie's joining us.
That's so
Yay.
cool.
Well,
Woo.
Marissa, I started by talking about my friend's band in high school, and the thing
Mhm.
that you thought won the most this week is tied to music. So let's
Oh
start
my
with
gosh.
you.
Yes.
You guys buckle in, because this has been a week where I would argue, no, in spite of all of the hellscape that is the United States, LGBTQ people won, because both Chapel Roan and Doechii put out new songs this week. And I gotta tell you, I'm in love. So if you haven't listened to The Giver, which is Chappell Roan's new song, it is literally like a secret, not so secret, homage. She doesn't do subtle to toxic, like basically telling toxic cowboy like masculinity that she'll always do it better. Like she literally makes a country song
Ooh.
about how she's gonna be the best thing your country cowgirl has ever had. And I gotta tell you guys, I'm here for it. If
Love
you
that.
haven't listened to it, definitely do. And Doechii, who, if you're not onto Doechii yet, please drop everything and go listen to her. Her album, her most recent album, Alligator Bites Never Heal, was so good. But she dropped a song, but I gotta tell you, did you guys hear this yet? For the new Doechii?
I haven't heard the new Doechii, but I can tell you
Okay.
that Doechii was the biggest Grammys discovery for me because
Right, because of
she
that whole thing.
crushed at the like her
Oh my God.
performance at the Grammys was one of the greatest performances I've seen of anything ever.
Agreed.
And I was like, well, this person's now on my radar.
100%. And dude,
Well-
like that album is perfection. But go
And
ahead.
she apparently she like was working at some like dead end job or something like that, and then quit. And then she's like, I'm just gonna try this. And like has a video proof of like her being like, I don't know, I quit my job. This is awful. I'm gonna see what I can do with this music thing. And then flash forward to the Grammys.
No, that if you've ever listened to Denial is Remember, that song is literally just like showing her progression. It's incredible. But
Oh, that's so
and
cool.
she's just, yeah, dude, like I don't know. I only got into her right before I feel like she blew up in proper. But man, dude, you know what though? You ready to feel old? She
Always.
samples Used to Know by Gautier.
No, what?
That song ain't old. Like, shouldn't there be like a 20-year buffer before you could sample a song? I think there needs to be like a,
Listen,
like
I hate to break it to you. While it's not a 20-year buffer, that song is 12 years old right now.
no, it's not. That was yesterday. You're
Matt,
right.
you stop it right now. That is really rude.
Because like when it first came out, I was like, oh yeah, and I was like, oh wait, this is a sample of that song. That means I'm old. Like,
I will tell you that our episode of One Hit Thunder on that song is
wow.
by a large margin the most downloaded episode we've ever done of that podcast.
You know what? I could really learn. I could go in for a deep dive on Gautier. I don't know where he is right now, but I'm here for
You
it.
should. You absolutely should.
You know what?
because,
I think I'm gonna pitch a new podcast, Finding Gautier.
Just finding Gautier. I'd love that. You got the green light from me. Yeah, I am slowly turning into a bit of a curmudgeon in the sense of what I want to listen to is the
I
music
believe
that I
that.
love. But I mean, anytime that someone sends me something new and I immediately fall in love with it, I'm like, well, this is exciting. Like in 2 weeks for Barb's birthday, we're going to see an artist that like she discovered on a Spotify suggestions one time called Andreas. Literally, like, I think he has maybe 2,000 followers on Instagram. He's not famous by
Weird.
any stretch, but he is
Okay.
so good. And I was like, yeah, I'll go. He was playing in Philly for like $20. I was like, I will absolutely take you to a $20 show for this artist that we both like.
Yeah.
And he's the opener, so we can
Awesome.
leave right after his set. So it's like all
That's
wins.
really the win, isn't it?
That is awesome.
Now, Katie, I gotta tell you, you kind of stole mine from underneath me.
See, I thought
good
that
one.
might be the case because I was like, oh, I feel like that. So I'm trying to get an image.
No,
here.
I have a backup. I have a plan B.
Okay.
So you take it. It is all yours because this is,
I'm so
I
excited.
think, the biggest news of the entire week for me.
Honestly, yeah, and it wasn't released until this morning that this okay, so this is an event in Switzerland that that they do to basically like show like political like things, and so a
That's
lot of
amazing.
they're all dressed up in middle fingers, and they have Trump on a middle finger to show how much they are displeased with all of the things that he's been doing.
What's he been doing? What's he been up to? I've been avoiding the news for the last couple of weeks.
I gotta tell you, yesterday when we were on Internet Supreme Court, and like when we found out, or I found out about that whole like car thing, the Tesla stuff, I was like, I can't find anything this week for what won the week, and so
That was me last week for sure.
yeah, no, there was just so much going on that I was like, oh gosh. And then I woke up to find this on my thread. this amazing account that I follow. I think it's called Resistance Rise Up. And they're showing a lot of protests that are happening around the world, and I thought this was
Awesome.
really phenomenal. Thank you,
Warms
my
my
people.
heart.
What up, Swiss people? We are tall, we are weird, but you know what? We might get this world war right this time.
Are they accepting applicants for new residents? That's the
I'm
real
hoping
question
so.
I've been asking.
Here's the thing. I'm hoping that maybe I can just sneak in there and just be like, okay, we're good. But apparently
they'll
that is
take you.
where the first and most expensive latte is found, by the way, is in Switzerland.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a fun fact.
Yeah.
I did not
That's
know that. But listen, Katie, let's talk about the real
Yes.
joy
Yeah, you're
spreading
very-
thing.
Yeah, I was trying to find I would get a clip of it, but I'm transitioning between PC and Mac is like so weird and hard, and my brain doesn't do it really well. But the thing that released this morning that I stole from Matt Kelly, apparently, and the only thing that made me really happy was the fact that Ted Lasso is being renewed
Yes.
for season 4, and most of the cast is coming back as well. Not Jamie Tart because he is already in a different show, which great.
Oh.
So maybe we'll get an appearance of him somewhere down the line. But
Wow, of
I
all
don't
the
know.
actors in that show,
I
Jamie
know.
Tart would not have been the one I put my money on to have something else going on.
But this is the really cool thing. Apparently, he's coming back to coach the women's team. So I'm excited to see new actors, new actresses. I'd love to see like how they handle female sports in general. That's going to be fascinating.
Now this is both, I don't know, I'm of two minds, right? This is both really, really, really exciting because I love this show and it's like one of the most feel-good shows in the world.
Agreed.
But there's also that part of me that's nervous because I feel like it was such a perfect final episode that now it's like you have to justify coming back and also giving us another satisfactory final episode, which I'm like, I mean, I trust Bill Lawrence and Jason Sudeikis to do that, but like this is the same situation that Bill Lawrence found himself in when he wrote the perfect final episode for Scrubs, and then they were like, hey, we're going to do a spin-off series, and he said, okay, cool, and then at the 0 hour they're like, actually we're just going to release it as Scrubs season 9, and like kind of took a giant dookie on the legacy that was that Scrubs finale. So like there's that part of me, it's like, oh my god, it was such a perfect 3-act story that we witnessed. So like I almost wish that this wasn't Ted Lasso season 4 and like something new season 1 starring Ted Lasso and the crew. Like, but we'll see. Look, everybody that I trust this show in the hands of is back. So I am optimistic that this is going to be fantastic. But
yeah, no,
I'm nervous.
I understandably only because it hasn't been really done before, unless you count Frasier as kind of that sort of thing. But Bill Lawrence, I think, has learned a lot from Scrubs, has learned a lot from all the other shows that he's been doing lately. You know, I mean,
Shrinking is like
it's
the
incredible.
best show ever.
Yep.
And who's writing on that and acting on that as well? None other than our good friend who says the fuck bomb very well. Roy Kent.
Roy Kent. I love so the thing that I love about Brett, who plays Roy Kent, is that like me, homeboy loves himself some Muppets. So if you haven't, definitely find him on Sesame Street when Elmo is dressed like Ted Lasso.
I do love that episode.
And also find before Ted Lasso, him and I think at an LA comedy club performing all of Muppets Christmas Carol in under 5 minutes, where he plays every character and is just changing costumes and doing the entire story in 5 minutes. It's the most charming, joy-filled 10 minutes you could possibly watch.
How have I not seen that one? That's amazing. I've seen Roy Kent talking to Oscar the Grouch, and that was hilarious. But I feel like everyone's seen that one. But that's so cool.
Yeah.
Brett Goldstein is he's doing a phenomenal job, and especially on Shrinking as well. Like I can't wait to see more from him, and he's just oh yay.
What I think is my favorite part though is that like by all accounts, it seems like the real Brett is more like his character in Shrinking, which like not to say is an alcoholic and a murderer, but kind of like this very kind of shy, nice man, but he plays an angry jerk so well.
It almost feels like he's like one of those guys that maybe had someone in his life that he's mimicking to a certain extent, or he's either making fun of or something. Like there is definitely something viscerally real about how he responds in Ted Lasso.
Yes.
So I wonder. But
hot take, you guys, I fucking hated the ending, the finale.
Really? I know people had mixed feelings on the final season, which like
it was rushed, I thought. Yeah.
Doing a rewatch, I liked it a little bit more because Barb had never seen it. So I was like, oh, we're gonna watch all of Ted Lasso.
That's season 1. You cannot compare it.
Oh my god, it's just perfection. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm kind of pumped because I really want. Well, first of all, we need Keely and the whole Keely Jamie
triangle
Kent thing to just go away, and then her to be with Roy Kent as she should be. But there were a lot of things I did love, so I'm pretty pumped. And yeah, agreed. I think it's brilliant, and I think I have faith in them to do it right. And yeah, women's sports is going to be so amazing. And as a coach, I literally am like I inspire like. Ted Lasso's who I base my whole coaching career on now, so that's pretty exciting.
Oh, that's so great!
I love that.
Wait, what do you coach?
Well, I coach lacrosse and basketball. I'm actually on a hiatus right now because my kids are so busy. But yeah, those are my 2 sports. Yeah, I'm reffing now, which is hilarious. But
I do want to give a quick shout out for one. So season 3 takes a lot of beating by people, and like I get it. I think it works better. This is my hot take on season 3. I think it works better if you're watching it all fairly close together. I think waiting week to week, you just felt like, why are we doing a story about this character that I don't care about? Why? But like when Barb and I like knocked out the whole season in a weekend, it felt really well done in that sense. But like, yeah, week to week, I remember even being like, who cares about this character that we barely knew in the first season? Like so many of the players were getting like spotlight episodes. But I have to say that season 3 has one of my absolute favorite moments in the entire history of the show. And I don't want to give out too many spoilers because I think there's a lot of people who still haven't seen Ted Lasso and need to watch Ted Lasso. But
haven't seen it out there and you're watching this.
Go watch it.
It's really worth it.
The Hey Jude speech is so beautiful, and it's so sweet and so simple that like I remember like almost dehydrating myself with how hard I was crying during that speech because it was just like the perfect moment. Like, Ted Lasso is like the Matt Kelly will cry for an hour show.
Oh, yeah.
You're the one that introduced it to me, Katie, because you picked it for when I was doing my favorite episode of. You picked the episode where he plays darts in the bar against
such a good and it was funny because I was like, I feel like you can drop into this and then like see this and be like, oh, I did this. I forgot that you hadn't seen it yet, and it was such what a well-timed release of that show.
Yeah, like I literally watched the entire season to watch that episode, and then I stopped. It was torture because I like crushed 7 episodes, got to episode 8, and then was like, well, I don't want to watch past this point until we record the episode because I'm afraid that I'm gonna like start talking about something later on in the show while we're recording the podcast episode. So I just like had to hold on to it, and then literally I think we stopped recording and I went upstairs and watched the last 2 episodes of the season immediately because I just need it to finish it.
You had to. Yeah. No, and it was one of those things that during the pandemic when it was releasing on a weekly basis, it was like, I can't wait to watch the next one, but it like got us through the week a little bit easier.
It really did. Yeah. Really
you
did.
Know?
Yeah.
Hopefully what won the week does that to all of our fellow watchers that are out there.
You're welcome.
I truly hope so. Well, I'm going to have 2 things that I'm going to mention for what won the week, because the first one's a little bit of a cheat. We mentioned it already, but y'all, I was so full of joy Tuesday night after we finished playing D&D together. Like that was
It was a lot of fun.
that was a
Me
delight.
too.
Joey's so good at running a D&D game
So
that
good.
anybody from like longtime players to first time players can have an equal amount of fun and make sure that everyone like no one just kind of like sat in the sidelines during the game, right? Like he always made sure that everyone was getting to do a piece. Just an absolute blast. Go and watch the playback. It was a lot of fun. Marissa, you played your first ever game of D&D. You
I know.
crushed it.
How'd that feel, by the way?
I had played a few RPGs that Joey did because agreed, like he is just incredible. What an amazing artist, and like the what he does with it really is artistry. But guys, I had a blast. Like I'm kind of like I want to do it again and soon. Like I even pitched to Matt the next like an idea for another one. Like I'm all in, dude.
That's
Like
awesome.
I was nerdy before this. Now like I'm like level 10. Like I'm gonna be a main boss soon, you guys.
Yeah. Well, and that's I was explaining it a little bit to Shane from Dynamic Resolution, and I was like, what my vision is with these D&D games is like right now it's been kind of the same players, but I would love for it to turn into this thing where it's like every couple months there's a D&D game with like a whole new cast of podcasters from the network.
That'd be
And,
so fun.
and Joey's the right DM for that because like I said, even if someone's never played but they just have like a fraction of an interest, he'll be able to like make them
Communicate.
feel like they're not drowning.
Yeah.
Because I was worried. I haven't played for like almost a decade, and I was like, I'm not going to remember how to do anything.
I definitely had no idea what I was doing, and I felt really comfortable. So,
You
and
did
you
it.
guys, man, I gotta step up my game. Like next time, I'm going costume, I'm going voicing. Like I'm all in, y'all.
Yeah.
It was so funny because I had an audition earlier in the week for like an Icelandic character, and I was like, oh, I should pull that out for my little Yeti thing, and then I completely forgot it as soon as we got right up on screen. I was like, oh yeah, I don't remember what we did there. It just completely dropped out of my head. But I thought even though you didn't have like a costume, like you did an amazing job. Like you
Aw,
pointed out
thanks.
some really great stuff. Like it was so fun working with. I love working with those guys, and I got to tell you, my improv team, Faux Pas, is very interested in doing a D&D campaign.
Let's do it. Let's do a faux pas D&D game.
I would
Get a
love
bunch
yeah.
of them in there. I would love to watch that.
Oh, I
Yeah.
would watch that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out to that. But actually, I want to talk about a podcast that I discovered that's an older podcast. I think it actually ran during COVID.
Okay.
I was a guest on a podcast recently. I don't even think the episode has come out yet, but I was a guest on a show that's called Miscellaneous Film Festival.
Okay.
And this is a very involved podcast because the way the podcast works is that they assign you 5 films tied to a theme, and you watch all 5 of them like it was a film festival, and then discuss like what these projects had in common and everything. And he had me on to do a episode about horror musicals.
Ooh.
But specifically horror movies made into musicals for the stage. So not like a filmed musical.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
I watched
Very
well,
niche.
that was the original thing. We had to break from it a little bit. It turned into a little bit more of like movie musicals, but we did the 9 to 5 musical, which is awesome.
It is
Based
an
on
amazing.
There's a
That's a
horror
horror
version of
movie?
it.
well, that's what I said. Eventually, we were like, we couldn't find
Got-
enough, so
okay.
we just changed it to movie musicals.
Okay,
The original
got it,
pitch
got
was
it.
horror
I was really
musicals.
excited for that for a
I
second.
was too. I was like,
Yeah.
what?
But yeah, so we did the 9 to 5 musical, amazing. We did Rogers the musical, which is the Disneyland stage
Yes.
show.
Yes.
We did the very short-lived and very weird Creature from the Black Lagoon musical that played at Universal
Wow.
Studios.
Ooh.
We did Carrie the musical, which I'll come back to that in a second.
Fair.
And then we did this thing that was a bit. Have you guys ever heard of Star Kid Productions?
No.
No.
So I did a bunch of research on them afterwards. They did a Harry Potter musical, which was like a Harry Potter like black
were-
box theater musical.
Yeah, I
Huh.
thought it was a college show. We were obsessed with it back in the day.
Well,
Quote it
so what they've done is that they've created this whole model where they every 2 years these like students from the Michigan theater team or whatever create their own original musical based on pop culture. They run a Kickstarter campaign to raise all the funds to produce it, and they have a multicam setup during the like 2 weeks that they run the show, and then they put the full edited musical on YouTube for free for anybody who
Wow.
wants to watch. So the one that he had me watch was this hilarious musical called Twisted: The Story of a Royal Vizier, and it's a retelling of Aladdin through the lens of Wicked, where it's like, what if Jafar was actually the good guy and Aladdin was
No.
actually the jerk? And it is so smart and funny and weird and
That's
delightful.
awesome.
It's so good. And like,
That sounds really cool.
if you're like me and you've watched Aladdin a million times, there are like so many references that will just like have you dying. Like the moment that I was like, I want to watch this again with a group of friends, like invite people over, order a pizza, make some popcorn, and like watch this musical, is after the very first song, one of the royal guardsmen shows up and he's talking to Jafar, and he's like, "Oh my God, you smell terrible." And he goes, "I was dropped from a window into a vat of manure chasing a man who stole a loaf of bread." And he's like, "Oh no, what happened?" He's like, "So many people died, Jafar."
Sounds
His
awesome.
monkey friend ripped a sword out of the sword swallower's mouth, slicing him open from the inside. One of our larger guards fell on the man who sleeps on a bed of nails and crushed him.
Oh my
And
God.
they're just
That's
like
so dark.
describing all of the scenes. He's like, no matter what we did, it seemed like he was always just one jump ahead of us. Like, it's just like so
Dude, that sounds
hilarious. And so just very smart. But
That's amazing.
awesome. I'm like
doing
writing that
that,
down. Yeah.
doing that person's podcast, I discovered a podcast called Out for Blood, which is a 10-part series about the history of the Carrie musical, where they sat
Whoa.
down with like the original cast from 1988, the people who did the 2012 revival. They go through like all of the weird changes that happened.
Wow.
They share this like urban legend that no one can really chime in on if it's true or not, but I want to believe it's true, which is that the person who produced Carrie the musical was producing it in London. And when he asked the producers, he said to the producers along the lines of like, I don't know how to produce something about an American high school because we don't have high schools here. We have universities. It's a totally different thing. The producer said, just think Greece and you'll be fine. And then when the American investors flew to see the workshop, all of the characters were dressed in togas and there was giant coliseums on the stage.
No, they were thinking the wrong Greece.
No way.
Of, like Greek mythology.
No way.
Oh my God, this is
That's amazing.
hilarious.
That's amazing.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, and but it was a really it's like hour-long
Cool.
episodes, 10-hour-long episodes, fantastic. And that led me to a show that I just started, so I can't say one way or the other if it's as good as the Carrie one, but it's called One Singular Sensation. And it's a
I've heard of
podcast.
this.
Yeah, it's a podcast about different musicals that had like a complicated history. So the first season was about the Sunset Boulevard musical. The second season was about getting Rent produced after the creator had died.
Oh.
And the current season they're doing is about Guys and Dolls, but they bring in like big name guests. The guest that they just had on for Guys and Dolls was Nathan Lane. Like they sat down
Wow.
with Nathan Lane about it.
Wow.
So-
Unreal.
Okay.
But it's on the Broadway Podcast Network, so I guess
That makes
it's
sense.
very
Oh, there
easily
it is.
accessible people in that sense.
Weird.
Because even the one about Sunset Boulevard, they sat down with Andrew Lloyd Webber, Glenn Close, and Patti LaBelle for that season. So I'm like, all right, so they have like
Dang,
direct
some
contact.
good connections or
Yeah,
somebody
that's- I
working
call
their
malarkey.
PR. Yeah. They're
Yeah.
not out there
You know
sending
how I feel.
emails to people.
Yeah, I don't
You
think
know
that.
how
Yeah,
I feel about
I love
celebrity
us and I
podcasts.
love Geekscape, but I don't think the three of us could do a podcast where we got all four of those names in a
Sounds like
season
a
and a
dare.
half.
not unless my bribery on Internet Supreme Court somehow works out.
Yeah, unless your Venmo is really popping off. Oh man, I should have
It's
kept
not.
the Bernie video.
Yeah. I might be able to pop that up. Actually, no, it's on my other computer. But speaking of theater stuff, Matt, have you? I know I suggested another show for you. It's called The Goes Wrong Show. And Marissa, I don't know if you know about
Oh,
this.
I'm gonna add
No.
this onto my
You
list. 'cause
really
I totally
do.
forgot.
And because, especially if anybody is listening right now or watching, if you're into theater to any stretch of the imagination, then you should definitely check this out. The Goes Wrong show, they do Peter Pan Gone Wrong, they do Christmas Carol Gone Wrong. Those are all on YouTube. Christmas Carol Gone Wrong is Derek Jacobi. Basically, they're like, they call themselves the Cornley like community theater or something like that. They're basically a professional theater group that do really shitty rundown plays or like versions of plays that are their own, but things go wrong all the time. The stunts that they do are phenomenal.
That's awesome.
And it's cool because it is filmed. So the Goes Wrong show is on YouTube, I believe, first and second season. If not there, it might be somewhere else, but it's out there. I know that the big plays like Peter Pan Gone Wrong and Christmas Carol Gone Wrong are on YouTube. And the stuff that they pull is insane and hysterical. And if you see it live or if you see it recorded, I'm sorry, my cats are going crazy right now. I'm sorry. This one's that's Tiny. There he goes.
Oh, I thought that was okay. I thought that was Yazzie.
No, that was not Yazzie. They kind of look similar. Yazzie jumped off, or AKA Big Guy, and then Tiny, AKA Oliver, is the one that just made a brief appearance. But I highly recommend it. It's so fun. It's honestly the thing that brings us so much joy, and especially if you're looking for something that's just unmitigated happiness, highly recommend those. And they do they just did in season 2 they wanted to do the nativity play, but they were doing it with a sponsorship from a bank. They were talking about how like the BBC wouldn't like let them do it or whatever.
Wow.
And it's absolute madness. You got to see it
Awesome.
to understand. But like the pranks and the stunts and stuff that they pull off are unreal. Like Peter Pan at one point just gets knocked unconscious, is just like swinging.
So it's like the actual story, but like just crap goes wrong in the production of it. That sounds amazing.
Whole time.
Yeah,
And especially if you've been a part of like a community theater, when things have gone wrong and like you're just trying to play it off. There's an amazing episode on the Goes Wrong show where it's a Southern play called 90 Degrees. And they say that their set decorators didn't realize that it meant the temperature. So one of their sets is 90 degrees, the wrong angle.
So it's literally just like if there was
That's
basically
awesome.
just like if that Spinal Tap bit about the size of their backstage prop was an entire show of mistakes.
It's so good.
I can't wait to watch this. That sounds really up my alley.
I have to say, after 8 high school versions of The Little Mermaid over the past like week and a half, it just like just gets better with age. I can categorically say when stuff goes wrong is low key one of my favorite parts. I mean, obviously I'm there to cheer on my kid and her friends who are all amazing, but when like the stage prop falls over like onto somebody's head, I'm like it's the best part, low key.
I'll have to
I hope she's not listening.
I will try to find and digitize it to play it whenever I'm back on the show, because I will not be here for the next 2 What Won This weeks, unfortunately. But we're gonna see. Hopefully Katie or Eric will be able to grab the reins on those weeks. Otherwise, there might be a week or 2 where we're not here, but we'll come back. I talked about I told this story before, but I was part of my high school presentation of Little Shop of Horrors. And I was
Wait, you were in theater shows? That's
so I was stage crew normally, but I convinced him to let me on stage for Little Shop of Horrors.
What were you?
I played Bill Murray's sadomasochistic character that's not in the show. No, not the dentist. I was the patient. The patient who loves pain that wants a candy bar, which is not in the normal stage show. It's only in the movie. But I was like, look, if I take the time to write all of that out into a script to be inserted into the play, would you do it? And he goes, yeah, that's fine. So I did that. And we always filmed the first night as the TV studio, which meant that that's the night with all the bloopers. And for me, in excitement of my character, I jump up on the chair and say, is it my turn? Is it my turn? And then I jump down to the dentist. And I was supposed to
I'm
have,
excited.
at the end of the bit, the dentist finds that I've stolen one of his pieces of equipment. So to do that, I already had it hidden in my coat pocket. But when I jumped so high, it literally falls out and you hear it bang on the ground. And both me and the actor playing the dentist just look down at it
Yep,
and
nailed
then
it.
just go about the scene like, guess we're going to have to figure out what to do next.
Yeah.
But I'm so not used to acting, and we'll have to watch the playback. But the actor playing the dentist is literally leaving props on my chest to give me an opportunity to steal one. But I'm so focused on not flubbing any more of my lines after that I
Aw.
don't grab any of them.
Anything?
Great. And then all the moms like me in the audience who are mean and kind of petty were like, man, don't let anybody in these shows. Like that's so like woke and awesome of them. But like low key, you're like, oh look, they let that kid in the show. That's nice.
Rick, I feel like you need to do some kind of like low key like commentary at the next play.
Oh my god.
And record
My
it.
God. My youngest and I'll be like, don't look at me. Like literally there'll be moments where we'll like look at, I will never forget one of my all-time favorites was, I don't know if you guys how well you know Matilda, but at the very end of the show there's a just one line that a kid sings, which I'm sure is very difficult to do. But when I tell you this kid sounded like a cat being strangled, and I will never forget because I literally went like this because I knew if I looked at my daughter, we were both going to
You
lose
start
it. We were in
laughing?
front row too. And all of a sudden, the chairs just started vibrating because we were all both trying so hard not to. So like the whole row is visibly shaking, and my husband literally was like, "Stop it, both of you!" Like he was horrified. But yeah, I mean, Community and high school theater is a delight, y'all.
So
It wins
I'm going to
every
throw
week
this
for
out
me.
there. Here's Matt Kelly, podcast producer mind,
There
working
it
a
is.
mile a minute. I mean, Marissa should probably be involved in this. Katie, even you should be involved in this. That's adorable.
I know.
Uh,
That's tiny.
The whole
because he's
crew.
literally small.
Yeah, he's
I
so
think we
cute.
need to hit up our friends who used to do Unstable Topics
Yes.
and bring them back for a podcast that is a totally fictionalized comedy podcast.
Yes.
Where the bit is that it's just two PTA moms that have a podcast talking trash about what happened at the school that week.
Yes.
like in
I mean,
a
I
Joe
basically do
Rogan
that
like
in real
pro-y
life.
podcast kind of way. Like I think
Okay,
that's
I'm sending the link to this show.
God.
What
Oh my
minute
God,
are we
yeah.
at? 42?
Yes,
42 minutes.
yes, yes.
42
Dude,
minutes.
and I tell you what, since I basically do that every drive home from a PTA meeting, I feel like I have so much good fodder for you guys. I'm ready.
It would be so funny. And it has to be like the most, like I almost feel like if you did it as like Midwest moms, so the voices
Oh God, yeah, we need
the
like,
voices
Oh, yeah.
sound kinder, like they sound softer and
that
kinder,
when
but
you're
they're saying meaner shit.
Oh, Jamie, bless her heart. Did you see what she was wearing today? Like,
I just can't believe, after they got divorced, that kid decided that he was also going to do football. Okay. That's some place to put his anger, I guess.
it's better than his
Oh,
girlfriend, like last
we-
time.
I think that is such a funny idea for like, and it doesn't
I-
have to be long. Episodes have to be like 10
Oh.
minutes long. You know what I mean? Like
Dude.
it's just riffing
long
on
as-
like stuff that happened at the school.
As long as we change my identity so the real PTA in my town never finds out, okay? Because if they know how much shit I talk on them, I'm like,
That's why you go as a character, and you only
like that
promote
wasn't
certain
me.
circles. Yeah,
Oh,
that was
God.
the character I was playing.
It's like, oh my
It's like
God, the door for
fictional.
potential of just having different people guest as other parents at the
Oh
school.
my God. And like the petty things people will like argue about and be mean about in the PTA just would blow your mind. Like I thought theater people would like the theater parents would be super cool, but they'll literally walk in and be like, my kid was cast as tree number 3. That kid's been on Broadway. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Broadway, like Wisconsin? Like
Yeah,
what?
Broadway Street. Like,
Broadway in our town? That's
I've been on that street too.
it is unreal just how no matter what whether it's the sports, whether it's the theater kids, whether it's like the bird watching club, there is like literally parents will bitch and be shitty and petty about everything. So
All the
Love
time.
it.
so fun.
Yeah.
I love
I
it.
mean,
Yeah,
I
it's the
was
best
part
part.
of a church group, so I understand.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I can't even imagine that.
Yeah.
The amount of like lunches I had with like older women of the church when I was younger. By the way, Matt, Christian Cringe, how's that going?
Christian Cringe is going great. I might get a new co-host, but
Wow.
no, I'm kidding. I'm
Wow.
kidding. That is the podcast I do with Katie, where we go through 90s and early 2000s Christian content, like Veggie Tales episodes of McGee and Me, punk music.
Random
Marissa,
movies.
you are on the list of people that we need to
When
have
do you
on.
guys want a Cuban Catholic to come in and set y'all straight? All right, former Cuban Catholic.
See,
Okay,
here's the biggest. We've had a couple Catholics on the show. The biggest problem is
Cuban
Catholics
Catholic.
don't have fun stuff. Like,
they ain't doing it right.
Mark is coming back, and he's going to be talking about food with Lent, I believe. So that's going to be exciting.
yeah, we're gonna do a special Lent episode in time for the season of Lent.
Nice.
But yeah, no, there was a quote that I remember years ago. I was interviewing a guy who was in a Christian punk band, and at that time, a lot of former members of Christian punk bands had like come out as atheist. So I'd asked them like, why do you think that's happening? And the quote that he said like sits in my brain regularly, and it's a lot easier to stay a Christian if you just show up for your 1 hour on Sunday morning. Like he's like, the more you have to deal with all of the behind the scenes work that happens at the church, the more you question everything, because you just have to deal with the politics and how crappy people are and how mean the people are back there. Like,
Yeah.
you see a lot more hypocrisy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So punk rockers were really putting the work in at church. I really have always just led the assumption that they were phoning it in for the record.
Well, so what I'm going to tie that to 5 Iron Frenzy, because I did 5 Iron Frenzy. We've done a whole month of 5 Iron Frenzy, but like 5 Iron Frenzy, one of their biggest beefs was like that the Christian music company was using all of the same shiesty tactics that the major record labels were using. And they were like, shouldn't we be better than this? Like, one of the things that I never knew about until years later was the concept of blue masking or blue mixing. Do you know what blue mixing is, Marissa?
No, is it going to be disturbing?
No. It's
Not that far. Not that far. I mean, there are disturbing things, but not that.
It's just kind of like a fucked up.
Like most things in the church?
Yeah. No, it's just kind of a fucked up practice for anyone to do. And like, I get their perspective of like, us as a Christian organization should be better than this. Yeah. Blue mixing is the idea that you purposely mix all of the openers to sound less good than the headliner so that everyone wants to buy the headliner's merch instead of the opening band.
Okay.
And it's just this known practice of like, the headliner brings in a guy who does the sound for the entire show, and he makes sure that the other bands don't sound better than the headliner, and that the headliner sets the ticket prices for everybody. So like, the opening act can't sell their shirts for $10 because then people won't buy the $35 shirts from the main band. So everybody has to sell their shirts for $35. Like, it's just like a really weird kind of shitty tactic that happens in the music industry. And like 5 Iron's perspective was like, why should I don't think we should be adapting this like this. We should be above doing this to other bands in general, but like really we shouldn't.
If it got like really weird with the punk Christian bands, like where they like, you can only talk about flagellating 3 times, all right? Because we're gonna like, I wonder how weird it all got. But then, you're right.
Marissa, I'm gonna tell you to listen to our month of 5 Iron.
You got
Katie it. Was like blown away.
We're not talking about golf. This is a band, I take it.
There was a band. There was a punk band called 5 Iron Frenzy.
There is,
and on their very first, like they were the way that they described themselves was they were punks first, Christian second. The opening track on their very first album was a song about manifest destiny and how screwed up it was that the churches killed Indians in the name of God. Like they
like legitimately pretty blown away. Yeah. No, and that was the thing that I said multiple times on that show. I was like, I didn't have this when I was younger, and if I had, I might have still remained Christian if I thought that was one of the exampple I could go after.
Holy cow, you got it.
5 Iron Frenzy. What was the other line? It was like oh my god.
Yes, when they were doing the tour against racism.
Yeah, they did ska against racism. They they joined like a bunch of mainstream bands and did ska against racism, and then they wrote a bunch of songs about that. because they were like, we were on tour with a bunch of bands who were borderline atheist people, and they were nicer than any of the people we had met playing the church shows, and that like made us question like everything. No, the lyric that I always loved, and this is, I know Marissa's mine, so I know she'll love this line, is they have a song called Cool Enough for You.
Oh, it's
and it was a song about like dealing with the local music scene and people being like critical of every decision that they made, whether it was like them changing from heavy metal to ska music or them being a Christian band playing non-Christian shows. And the one lyric was, "You're throwing rocks at the stage from your greenhouse on the floor." And I was
That's awesome.
what a good
What
lyric.
a cool line. Yeah.
they
I
had
love it.
really good lyrics and like really like makes you think type of music, and I was like, I did not expect this from a ska / punk band.
Yeah. Which
Oh,
now all
okay.
their new music is just about how much they hate Donald Trump. 2 full albums about it. So, you know.
Like these guys, I recognize that I low key sometimes am very pessimistic about anything having to do with Christianity or organized religion.
But
So-
this is exactly
But
this
I
is
did.
exactly what was so great about starting this podcast, is because Matt's whole thing is like, you know, there is some really good value to some of these things when you can find the right art. And my whole thing was, there's some shitty things that are hilarious that we should look at.
And we found that perfect mix, because boy, is Quigley's Village everything Katie was hoping this podcast would be. just a night. Marissa, have you ever wished that Mr. Rogers and Sesame Street was far more religious and propaganda like? Have you
Not
tried
a minute
Quigley's
of my life
Village?
goes by that I don't wish for that. Very thing.
I couldn't even watch the entire
Yeah,
episode.
she
of that.
finished. She tapped out 20 minutes into a 27-minute episode.
I don't
Legitimately.
think I wouldn't last 30 seconds. Yeah, I'd get very angry.
Well,
Yes.
folks, stop me if you've heard this one before, but I have another podcast recording at 5:00. So
Yes.
I think we're gonna.
What's that recording?
I want to bring up Team Ashen's comment real quick. That was earlier when you were talking about going to another podcast. I thought it was hilarious and very on point, and I've been wanting to bring this up.
Yes.
But how do you even have time to be a guest when you're hosting and producing like 2,000 podcasts?
Yeah.
Good
Listen,
question.
it is a good
It's a fair question.
and I don't have an answer for it. So all I'm going to say is, Paul, if you have time to comment, you should be on a future episode of What Won This Week. That is, Team Ashen is Paul of the Campfire Ashes podcast on the Geekscape Network.
Let's
So,
do it.
Paul, make yourself seen one of these days on here, and also do a D&D. I know you play D&D, you weirdo. Come and join us for a D&D game.
Ooh, yes.
But we will be back next week, hopefully, with more things that won this week.